I mean, I don't want to say that it's stupidly worded, but this has to be the strangest bill I have seen in the trucking industry. Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about a new bill that a lot of people are talking about, and apparently it is supposed to crack down on ELD tampering. I mean, it sounds fantastic, but when you look at this bill, a limited bill, I might add, it is just strange and full of loopholes. So let's chat about it. Ready? Let's go. So on Sunday, June 21st, a bill was introduced by Representatives Dave Taylor and Greg Steube, and this bill is called Guarding Hours of Service Oversight and Stopping Tampering by Remote Unofficial Carrier Keeper, or GHOSTRUCK Act. Now, this is what Congressman Dave Taylor had to say about it. Beyond powering our nation's supply chain and economy, our nation's truck drivers share the road with American families, and there is nothing more important than ensuring everyone reaches their destination safely. I'm proud to join Representative Steube in introducing the GHOSTRUCK Act to hold bad actors accountable for tampering with electronic logging devices, enhance accountability on the road, and ultimately make American roads safe again. By the way, I did have to search up how to pronounce Greg Steube, so I know for a fact that I'm pronouncing it correctly. Now, when you hear all of this, you think, oh yeah, this is a serious crackdown that is going to happen. So why don't we actually go through the bill, which is just, I would say, a few sentences long, and I'll pretty much quote the whole thing. Please do not laugh. Just wait. All right, here we go. To amend Title 49 United States Code to authorize employees or authorized agents to edit or annotate electronic logging device records as long as such employee or agent is physically located in North America and the edit or annotation is subject to driver approval and for other purposes. This act may be cited as the Guarding Hours of Service Oversight and Stopping Tampering by Remote Unofficial Carrier Keeper Act, or the GHOSTRUCK Act. Section 31137B of Title 49 United States Code is amended by adding at the end the following. An edit or annotation may be made by an employee or authorized agent of the motor carrier responsible for the record, provided that the employee or agent is physically located in North America and that such edit or annotation remains subject to driver approval. The end. This bill is really like an unfinished thought, yet there are some big groups that are very excited about it as if this is something extremely influential. So first we're going to start with the American Trucking Associations. You guys know how I feel about them. This is what they had to say. Roadway safety depends on consistent compliance with hours of service regulations, and preserving the integrity of ELDs is central to that mission. Tampering with electronic logs is a growing problem that undermines enforcement, rewards bad actors, and puts the motoring public at risk. We appreciate Congressman Steube's and Taylor's attention to closing this loophole and strengthening accountability so these devices serve the safety purpose they were intended to fulfill. Then we have the OOIDA, and this is what they had to say. OOIDA is proud to support Representatives Steube and Taylor's GHOSTRUCK Act, which would prevent foreign nationals in places like Eastern Europe and Asia from altering ELD records of American truckers. Importantly, the bill ensures that a driver has final approval for any edits suggested by their motor carrier. Together, these provisions will improve highway safety, reduce driver coercion, and help combat freight fraud. Now, obviously, this bill doesn't aim to say that, yeah, you can edit logs as long as you're in the US. Nor does it say that editing is the same thing as tampering with. The thought process behind this bill is basically, if you are someone who is outside of the US editing these logs and kind of overworking drivers, you are quite literally outside the law. The US can't go after you or hold you accountable. Now I'm quoting this. If an American driver or dispatcher falsifies records that lead to a fatal crash, they would face significant legal consequences. Foreign based actors, however, often avoid similar accountability by operating outside the reach of the U.S. enforcement authority. The Ghost Truck Act would close this loophole to uphold safety standards, hold bad actors accountable, and ensure safety on American highways. So now I have a few questions. I am here to poke some holes in this bill, if you guys don't mind. First of all, considering the fact that foreign dispatchers and ELD providers are outside of the reach of US enforcement agencies, I have a question. How are they planning to enforce this whole bill that basically says that if you're a foreign dispatcher or ELD provider, you are not allowed to manipulate logs? Or are they planning to hold the driver accountable during the routine inspection? And if so, how will they know that this driver is using a foreign ELD service or a foreign dispatcher during that routine inspection? We have seen that enforcement is lacking, and it's not because of laziness, it's because there are no or not enough tools to help enforce the things that are on the books. Second question. Do you guys realize how easy it is for someone who is outside of the US to have a US business, a branch in the US? Carriers owned and run by foreign entities do this all the time, and they are subject to scrutiny by the FMCSA about what kind of address they have. How easy do you think it is for an ELD provider or a dispatcher who is not based here to just get a virtual address and pretend that they have a business in the United States? They are not as regulated as carriers are. And yes, just to give you an example, I know this to be true, that carriers who are not based here are running a business here, because I have seen carriers with a primary email ending in RU. This is a Russian email address, and if you are not aware, most of these Russian emails are only accessible from Russia. You cannot access them from the United States, even if you have a VPN. They do not use Gmail because Gmail, for the most part, is blocked in Russia. These carriers are being operated from overseas. And again, I ask, how easy do you think it is for an ELD provider or dispatcher who is not based in the US to actually get a virtual address here and pretend that they are based here? Third, this whole idea that those that are actually physically based in North America are going to face severe consequences is kind of laughable. Now, they did mention that this is after a fatal crash, but so far the most severe consequence we have seen is the FMCSA blocking some electronic logging devices. And finally, this whole idea of subject to driver approval, something that I have already mentioned. There are some drivers, and I see this on Facebook when drivers are looking for a job or discussing a job, they are the ones who insist sometimes, it's not all the time, carriers are just as guilty, but you will see from time to time a driver insisting on a rubber logbook, right? So this whole driver approval thing is kind of a moot point in certain circumstances. This bill is a prime example of optics and how they matter. I know that it is meant to look good on paper. I'm not sure it actually does look good on paper, but it's meant to. But enforcement, the way they are discussing, is really, it's quite impossible. But I am curious to hear what you guys think of this. Do you guys think that this is actually going to do anything, or is it just another piece of paper that makes it look like something is being done? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining and watching. Wishing you a fantastic Wednesday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning.